Good morning, viewers. It's been over 3 months since the last video in this series was published, so it's time to update the list of interesting finds in the form of short video formats like Reels, TikToks, and so on, which you usually send me. Today, we'll watch and comment on some of these interesting finds. I invite you to join me. This music kind of reminds me of the music from the hamster meme. Supplies and animals for breeding corn snakes and leopard geckos. So, totally by accident, if you had no idea what a dragonfly hatching looks like, this is it. What you're seeing is the process of the final molt of a dragonfly, in this case a so-called Anisoptera, which are massive, thanks for watching. They can spend up to several years underwater in the larval stage, and this larva, as is the case with insects, molts up to about 10 times. And while practically all the molts of dragonflies happen underwater, since that's where they spend most of their lives, the last molt is when the larva comes out of the water. What's more, during the last few days of its life, it gets closer and closer to the surface of the water to check if it's the right time to come out of its molt. So it comes out, looks for a suitable place for this molt, like a blade of grass, grabs onto it, and from this larva, an adult dragonfly emerges, which, after drying off and straightening its wings, simply flies away. As a fun fact, take a look sometime at what dragonfly larvae look like from underneath, because it's really quite a shock. Dragonfly larvae, just like the adults, are predatory, and they hunt thanks to their lower lip, which is transformed into something like pincers. It looks really amazing, but we'll talk about that and other aspects of dragonfly life in a separate video, so let's move on now. Jesus. As soon as I saw it, I thought, no, I have to show this to you, because I'm the lucky owner of this lizard. Actually, I have two of them, a male and a female. There was an episode dedicated to them. I'll point out Freddy Kamionka, the lizard, who now has a partner. And what you see here, these dances, twists, twerking and other things, from what I've already learned, these are mating behaviors. However, it happens that these lizards, specifically the Nephrurus species, in this case probably Nephrurus levis, or at least these are the lizards I have, they also tend to shake their tails and the back part of the tail, which is whip-like, in case of danger. Well, for them, I might be a potential threat, right? Well, because I'm big and sometimes they just get scared of me, and then they also wag their tails, which is wonderful to watch. Now watch what will happen. I'll put the microphone here. Click. And I really don't like picking her up because she gets very nervous and bites. However... Oh, Jesus. And exactly, he screams terribly. Moreover, in addition to screaming, she also bites. Ouch! Alright, let's let go. Yeah, so she's a funny little creature. The music makes this gold, it's beautiful. This is a really interesting video that I came across quite recently, literally just a few days ago. And I had to find out what this video is about. At first, when I look at those trees, it's unclear what's going on. There's something sitting there, but the white goo and the whole situation are not immediately apparent. And it turns out that on that tree, as you can hear in the video, there are cicadas sitting in very large numbers. And since there are places in the world where there are just a lot of cicadas, they swarm those trees in large numbers. My dear friends, ask yourselves, what do cicadas eat? Just as you think, and here the answer is very simple. Cicadas are herbivorous animals. They are homopteran bugs. And if you look at the underside of a cicada, they have a kind of proboscis here, which is tucked between the base of their legs. This proboscis is used to suck sap from trees or other plants. And some cicadas, like the ones shown in this video, produce very large amounts of what I would call honeydew. Honeydew is a sweet substance produced, for example, by aphids to satisfy ants, which then drink the honeydew because it actually tastes sweet, and then the ants take care of the aphid colony. And it works very similarly here. And this white substance, I don't know if I can call it honeydew, I wouldn't call it meconium. It's simply the result of digesting food that's very rich in sugar. And then you can observe this honeydew rain in places where there are a lot of cicadas. And what's more, in places where this occurs, the locals have given it the English name honeydew, which in Polish could be translated as something like miodowa rosa. So that shows it's sweet. Aha, another wonderful video. Yes, What is shown here is not the result of artificial intelligence, nor any artificial intelligence interference or anything like that. This is a real recording with a real beetle, specifically a beetle from the Elateridae family, also known as click beetles. Some time ago, I think it was last year when I was in the Bieszczady mountains, I showed you beetles from the same family that live here and have exactly the same ability. For them, it works like this. On the underside of their body, they have something like a latch, and this latch makes it so that if you flip the beetle onto its back, it can use the latch to launch itself into the air and most likely land on its feet. And if it lands on its back again, it repeats the process. And I'm practically convinced, regardless of the subtitles in this video, that this is a film from Southeast Asia, because that's where you find these metallic colored green huge click beetles that you won't see here. Ours usually don't get bigger than about 2 centimeters. The largest click beetle we have reaches about 3 centimeters in length, but over there you can actually find such beautiful specimens. And the next video shows what I was telling you about in the previous video, about those big gigantic beetles. I'm specifically referring to these small items. The beetles in this short video are from the Xylotroops genus, part of the same subfamily as the Chalcosoma genus mentioned in the previous video. And this also shows that in Southeast Asia, which is where this video was recorded, such beetle fights, not only from this subfamily, but also from the Lucanidae family, which are stag beetles that have huge mandibles instead of horns and also fight for females, well, these kinds of fights are considered a sport there. And you can normally come with your own beetle, or you can bet money on a beetle and see which one wins. The fight ends when one male simply defeats the other male, either by knocking him off the log or by lifting him up so that the other male is clearly the loser. So yeah, that's how it happens, right? I don't organize beetle fights, but it's still fun with them. Alright, Mishku, you're going back. The next movie is a visual blast. When it comes to spider molting, you could observe it in many of my videos. The process is clearly energy consuming and highly risky for the spider. However, what is shown here is the molt from the penultimate to the final stage in an adult male spider, most likely of the Pamphobeteus genus. And it's something like this Pamphobeteus insignis or something, or maybe nigricolor. Anyway, it's a real beauty. The colors of freshly molted males are so amazing. They're so blue. And this isn't colored by artificial intelligence or by a person either. These colors aren't enhanced. That's really how they are, but they have to be very freshly molted males. And I actually have a super adult male Pamphobeteus ultramarinus. If he molts into adulthood, I'll try to show you a video presenting what these colors can look like, because it's insane. Since we're on the topic of tarantulas, let me show you another video too. Yeah. Well, this tarantula is beautiful. It has iridescent legs, and it's one of the most popular tarantula species we have in this hobby. What's more, this is my first spider. I mean this species, not this particular specimen. Here, we're dealing with the Venezuelan tarantula, Psalmopeus erminia. These are very beautiful spiders, very fast, sometimes quite defensive, but with weak venom. And I think this is one of the best possible choices if you want to start keeping fast arboreal spiders. Something beautiful. Especially those iridescent legs do such an amazing job, it's out of this world. Oh yes, you've sent me this video many times and asked if it's fake, if it's artificial intelligence, if it makes sense, if it's real. My dear friends, I assume once again that the video was recorded in Southeast Asia. Why? Because the spider shown here is real. It's real, but it's not alive. I'll prove it to you. Look, I could pull a prank like this 1, 2, 3, many times. All of these are Cereopagopus minax. These are spiders that are very common in Thailand and throughout Southeast Asia. They are spiders that are caught in huge numbers, and seriously, there are tons of them there. What's more, you can buy them in almost any entomological store around the world. Most likely, this spider was prepared and placed on the seat of this car to imitate some kind of scary spider's lair. This also indicates that the spider isn't alive, because spiders of this species, and tarantulas in general, don't make webs like that. That's not a tarantula web. It doesn't look like a tarantula web at all. It's just some mess. Who knows where it came from? And really, things like this don't happen. Spiders won't take over your car. That just doesn't happen. Oh, right. Bombardier beetles. Videos with these beetles, which are commonly known as bombardier beetles, have been sent to me by you hundreds of times. What's the deal with these beetles? Basically, the thing with them is that all over the world, within the ground beetle family, which they belong to, there are about 500 species that, using chemicals located in their abdomen, can mix these chemicals and shoot them at an enemy. These chemicals can reach a temperature of almost 100 degrees Celsius, basically frying their opponent. And a lot of videos with these insects are, let's say, staged. Because, for example, the one where you see a beetle from the Doristines genus biting a bombardier beetle and then getting shot by it, they generally shouldn't meet, and a beetle from the Doristines genus absolutely does not feed on these smaller beetles. You can clearly see that it's staged and someone just wanted to record this kind of shot, which then got millions of views. But if you're curious about the beetle species, I'd guess it's from the Cerophorus genus. But I'd have to look deeper into all the subfamilies that include bombardier beetles, because there are just quite a lot of them. One of these emeralds is actually a stinky one. Let's have these spiders that have been turned a bit into zombies. Unfortunately, none of these spiders are likely to make it out of this. And all these spiders are a collection, I suspect, from several weeks of hunting by a single mud dauber. Mud daubers are a type of wasp from the Selifron genus, which we can also encounter in Poland. Also, a few years ago, Scelifron curvatum appeared here. Yes, I know how it sounds, but that's the actual Latin name. I can't do anything about it. And these are, I don't want to call them wasps, so I'll stick with hymenopterans. These are hymenopterans that, in nature, as adults, hunt spiders. And why do they hunt those spiders? They hunt spiders to sting and paralyze them, then carry them to their nest, which is where their name comes from, as those nests look like they're made of clay. And there in the nest, those spiders wait. Since they're not dead, they don't start to decompose. And they wait until those wasps lay eggs next to them. From those eggs, larvae hatch and eat the still fresh spiders, which are not dead. And then they pupet, a new wasp emerges, and the cycle repeats. Terrible things, but really fascinating. The next shot isn't a video, but a photo. My dear friends, many of you would probably say that this is, once again in this episode, artificial intelligence or artificial intelligence. No, wrong. This isn't artificial intelligence. These are so-called sgarbi. By the way, this photo shows a very close cousin of Cic, which we were just discussing. It shows a true bug from the Hemiptera order. Its cousins, like the horned sgarb with funny little thorns on its thorax, can also be found in Poland. My dear friends, the Membricidae family includes insects so absurdly strange, it's simply unbelievable. Especially the tropical species, examples of which you can see now, that's just out of this world. They can have such incredible structures, and not just in the form of spikes, but also simply as camouflaging structures that sometimes I just can't wrap my head around it. The surface can feature small balls, spikes, or leaf-like structures. Everything is to resemble plants, or everything is to make sure nothing eats them. After all, it's pretty hard to eat such a spiky insect. But I'll just show it to you, as it's phenomenal. Okay, we've got another marvel. You've also sent me this video countless times, and you asked if it's artificial intelligence again. There's a lot of artificial intelligence in this video. Is it real or is it not real? Yes, this spider really exists. It really is that strange. And it's called the leaf-mimicking spider, which is a spider from the Poltis genus. In nature, these are tropical spiders found, among other places, in Africa and Southeast Asia. And yes, it really is that strange. It has this weird bump on its abdomen, and that bump developed so that the spider would look like a leaf and could blend in with leaves so nothing would eat it. I think it worked. These spiders are amazing. Poltis mochoti is found in nature, among other places in Vietnam, and it was discovered, a long time ago, I think in 1843, if I remember correctly. And these are amazing spiders that are very close cousins of our orb weavers. This is one and exactly the same family, which is the orb weaver family, or Aranidae. And what's more, it's not like this is an isolated case, meaning just one species of spider. There are likely dozens of Poltis species, so they are quite abundant. Well, this spider is just a real alien, honestly, it's a tragedy. And now it's time for the last video, which is probably the worst of them all because it shows, well, what does it show? Friends, this image shows a person's fingers holding what appears to be a paper wasp, likely a type of Polistes. And they're pulling something out of the abdomen of this paper wasp. And that something is one of the craziest examples of parasitism that I know of. I think you've never heard in your life of something like twisted winged insects. It's a very small order of insects. In Poland there are only about 7 species, and they're very tiny and totally weird insects. The males can fly, they have wings, but they don't eat, and the females are larva-shaped, which means the females don't have a mouth, the females don't have eyes, and the females live in the butts of wasps. It's such an absurd thing, and it's not just the females, but also the larvae that parasitize wasps, including those from the Polistis genus, but not only them, they can also parasitize silverfish or true bugs. Basically, what happens is that this twisted winged insect gets into the body of a wasp and then sticks out from its tergites. Tergites are those individual plates that make up the outer shell on the abdomen. As shown in the paper wasp video, you're familiar with the appearance of tergites. And sometimes a black lump sticks out from under those tergites. And that's the female's rear end because she has to get ready to mate with the male, so she sticks out her abdomen and waits for the male to come, and then they mate, and then the cycle repeats again. She lays eggs, blah blah blah. But it's just so crazy. They don't eat, they can't see, they just live inside the bodies of wasps. Amazing. Let us know if you enjoyed this episode and if you learned something interesting here, and we'll see you in the next videos. Hey!